Hello and welcome to The Dark Roast. I'm Donna Stroll and I am here with the always lovely and talented Rose Short. And today's topic is how to create unique content in what can be perceived as a very saturated market, right? So, you know, if your feed feels sort of like a deja vu lately, it's really not just you, right? It's the internet. Because everyone and their dog and their cat has discovered AI. And then cranked out the top 10 tips to posts and how every niche looks the same. And, you know, it's really just a copy and paste buffet. And it really is. I mean, we had this problem before and it's starting up again, but it's different, you know, still copy and paste, but that's because everybody's utilizing the brand new shiny toy of AI, right? So,
yep. Yeah, and now we're seeing an even greater push. We talked about this before for authenticity, right? Because people want stuff that is very obviously real. It's raw. They're not being lied to. They don't feel like you're trying to fake them out, right? Because like, how many times has someone sent you something that's AI and you've had to break it to them, and then it completely shatters their trust in everything, right? I have lost count of how many times I've heard people say, "I don't trust anything on the internet anymore." Because everything has an extra layer of research now, whether it's an article or it's a video or anything else. So algorithms are picking up on this though. And they're saying like, hey, you know what? People don't want to see AI really. They want to see that authenticity. They want to see these stories. Something that my feed fills up with all the time that I try not to watch is like the drama stories they're very much obviously fake, but like they're drama, right? So people are attracted to them. We're seeing a lot of those, but that's because like people know that, you know, there's no person trying to fake them out. The story's probably fake, but it's still kind of funny. And so, you know, if you've ever thought like, as you're getting going, like, why would anyone listen to me? Like there's so many people in this niche anyway. You don't need a new niche. You just need a new way of showing up for your audience and a new way of framing it in your head.
Absolutely. And there's a reason why everything feels saturated. I mean, in 2025, AI tools made it really, really easy to pump out, you know, the okay content, right? Which means the volume exploded. And I'm not anti-AI in any way, shape, or form. I think it's an excellent tool, but it's a tool, right? It's not to replace you. And the problem is that when you are just pumping out straight AI content, the quality is just not there, right? And studies show that most buyers can't tell the difference between vendors because everyone is saying the same thing, right? They're saying it's all vague, it's all just sort of surface level. And then, you know, if you're sounding like everyone else, you know, it's a conversion killer because you've always needed to stand out a little bit, but now it's really hard because the person who's just starting out, if they're using AI and the person who's been in it for a year and a half, 2 years is using the same AI jargon to throw it out there, then how do they know who's different? Like they just don't, right? Yeah. So you want to add, you know, a bit of personality, right? If your content basically could be slapped onto anyone else's profile and it still sort of makes sense, that's not a brand. That's wallpaper, right? It's just, you know, you're not a brand anymore. You're just that same every off-the-shelf wallpaper, you know? And so the opportunity isn't gone. It's just shifted in the way that you need to be able to utilize it. The win now is going to go to those marketers and, you know, creators who can be a real person. You know, you don't have to be shiny and sparkly and everything needs to be perfect. And, you know, you have your special backgrounds and everything else. I mean, we have these because my house is chaos, but
and mine's empty.
Yeah. So, you know, but it doesn't have to be perfection. It's not like I have some fancy background or I have one room that's, you know, 6 feet wide and it looks perfect behind me. You don't need that because that's, you know, they want to see who you are. And that makes a big difference, especially right now when everything is so polished.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways you can differentiate yourself, right? So we have a differentiator framework, as we like to call it. And the first one is your point of view, right? Most marketers start off at least teaching how to make money online, right? It's super boring. You're selling someone else's course. But the power is your angle, right? What you believe, what you disagree with, what you're tired of seeing, why it works, frustrations, again, sharing your story. So instead of the typical, like, how to start making affiliate money or how to start affiliate marketing, switch up those hooks, switch up those headlines, and make it way more personal. Like, why you should stop chasing high ticket, right? Those kind of anti-hooks where it's like, or, what are the good ones? I always forget these. I never use them really, but it's like the why you shouldn't start online marketing, right? And then it's all good stuff. Like they're used a lot, but like it's the same kind of theory of, having that almost pseudo-negative hook and people are like, wait, what? Is a great way to do it. But again, it needs to be authentic, right? If you are chasing high ticket programs, then maybe don't post why you should stop.
Very, very fair, very fair. Yeah.
But it's the same as like split testing a title on YouTube, right? Like split test those different hooks and see what works. And again, make it authentic to your story. And then also your story source, right? AI can remix pretty much anything that already exists and even, recreate it, but it really can't live out your meltdown when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your affiliate dashboard hasn't moved and you're wondering why you're doing this and your wife is screaming at you that, you should stop and get a real job. That is your unfair advantage. That is your hook. That is your story. And that's very difficult to recreate with AI because when AI tries to do angry or sad human faces, it's very obvious it's AI, right? It's always the same, like, look to it. So like that's a really good way that you can film that. And that doesn't mean you need to film yourself actually breaking down, right? But you can recreate that story.
Yeah, and I mean that it also works for your texts, your text posts, your blogs, right? Even if it's the text that even if it's just your auditory over something else, that's fine. You can use the things like your failed launches, or your awkward DMs, those mistakes that you made, all those kinds of things that, it happens, but it makes you more human. It makes you more relatable, especially when you're trying to if you're trying to sell courses or something like that, or maybe, like you're talking about your journey, right? If it's like a physical journey that you've gone on, whether it's, I don't know, life coaching, or it's weight loss, or it's a fitness journey, all of those things, you can talk about your journey. There's a reason the people who are heavily overweight and are starting a physical fitness journey to get themselves healthier, people flock to that because they want to see the real person. They want to see their progress. They want to be there to pump them up and get them motivated and keep them motivated. It's exciting, right? To be part of that as a viewer, as a content consumer. It's exciting to see people grow and to see them reach their goals. So this is something that you can absolutely utilize to make yourself stand out from everybody else. The other differentiator is format twist, right? You don't need a new topic every day. You basically need a new wrapping, right? So example of this would be like to turn a generic tip list into a mistakes I made episode, or a live audit, if you have that ability to audit someone's funnel or their profile, because you're helping them process, and it's content for you, as long as they're, you obviously need permission to do that. But if you've got the audience, then you can reach out and offer that, and then you can make that content for the next time, right? Or maybe you're a little bit more ahead of things, or you're ready to do it. You can do a 5-day mini series of breaking one topic into little micro episodes. So like, little 3-minute episodes, so that you've got content for the next 5 days, but you're breaking it down and you're walking somebody through something. So it doesn't have to be like, just here's your 5 top things that you can do, or 10 things you should avoid. Break it down, turn it into something more.
Yeah, love it. And then of course your audience lens, right? Like, we hear about oversaturated niches all the time, but think about how many new health and wellness like pills or supplements are coming out all the time, right? They don't care that it's saturated. They're just trying to prove why theirs is better. So, it's not necessarily the niches that are saturated, it's the messaging. Making money online is crowded, let's be honest, because it did so well in the pandemic, era. So, helping burned out corporate shills create a side income that can replace their stressful job, right, is a much more specific message, and it's a lot less crowded because you should be tailoring your message to fit, again, your experience and who you are, right? It's why, I will never post a, helping single dads make a living from their computer, right? Because I'm not a single dad. I'm not going to do that. Not to say that what I'm using can't help them, but that they're not going to identify with me as much as they will an actual single dad who's made it work, right? So look at your situation or the situation that brought you to where you are if you're a little bit ahead of the game. Identify or stage a discussion that you would have with the self that started this process, and then use that to talk to your audience, right? Because that is your audience. Who you were is your audience. And algorithms are getting really, really good at understanding content, especially as they're kind of putting limits on hashtags and whatnot. So this is where being hyper specific with your written content helps really well, and being specific in your video or blog messaging is really, really helpful, and that can really get your content boosted to the right people.
Yeah, and it's nice that we're getting back to that, because the whole goal is supposed to be to help people, and in the process be able to build an income off of that, build a business off of that. So, there is a little 5-minute generic detector. So first thing you want to do is paste or read your draft out loud, right? So take a moment and just read what it is that you're going to do, or listen to what it is that you're putting out there with not your ears. I don't know how to explain that, but literally think about it as if you were listening to somebody else, because that's going to give you your first sort of heads up, right? And then ask yourself, could my competitor post this word for word, and it seemed like it come from them? And the answer is yes, it's generic, right? Because there's no personality in that. You want to highlight any phrases that sound a bit like AI wrote them. So things like "in today's digital age," or "now more than ever," leveraging the power of. These are things that are gonna sort of pop people into. Now, right now, there's a lot of this or that. Now, there are some rules that really frustrate me when people say, if it has this, this, or this, then it's obviously AI, they're forgetting the fact that AI has been trained on people who literally do write like that and literally do speak like that. So not everything is AI, but there are some common phrases like chef's kiss. If you've never said that before, don't put that in your stuff, right? If it's something that you say, by all means, but just know that people might clock it as AI, even if it's not. But if they've heard you say that multiple times before, they're not, they're going to realize that this is just who you are. So don't use terms and phrases that you wouldn't normally use, because that is definitely going to clock you as AI. Then you want to fix it with just sort of 4 add-ons. You want to add a story or a real example, even if it's really tiny. It doesn't matter. You just want to pop that in there. Add one specific, like a number, a niche, a tool, a concrete situation, just something that's happened, something that's real, something that's very specific that you're doing. Add one spicy opinion, right? Something that you're willing to stand on and that you're comfortable backing. Don't put something out there that you're not ready to back, because that can hurt you. And then add one clear next step. What should they do in the next 24 hours or the next week or whatever? You're giving them something to put action on, and that makes them more integrated with what it is you're putting out there, right? And it also makes it more personal. You've given them a task, and you say, hey, tell me how it went. that's very simple, right? Bottom line is, if you're reading over your content or listening to your content and go, oh, this sounds like a robot, then, where's the story? Where's the detail? What is my actual opinion? It's time for a change. Is it time to review it and make that adjustment?
Yeah, love it. And there are some really easy ways to stand out on social media, even in 2026, right? Like, platforms are very publicly, I would say, leaning into authenticity and originality. We're seeing this with more and more original audios being kind of trending and boosted. And part of that is revenue sharing. But a lot of it is, even with like Suno and whatnot coming out with AI music, a lot of people are getting frustrated with that because it takes the creativity away from the human in a way. Again, if it's a tool that's being used, not necessarily, but people that are just cranking out AI music, people are getting frustrated with it. So that's why you have to label your AI content. There's higher reward for original creators right now. They're boosting content that feels more human, which is a big win for new and authentic creators. So overproduced, yeah, exactly. Overproduced, commercialized style content is really underperforming. And we kind of saw this last year too, with less edited videos doing better than overly edited videos, where it's kind of a continuation of that. But like, people want simple, they want honest, they want unpolished, they want the truth, and they want answers to real questions, which again is great for us. So, there's a lot of like hooks that are still being used that we've kind of seen in the past, but are super beneficial now. And again, it's those almost negative ones where it's like unpopular opinion. Or I even use this instead of friendly reminder, hostile reminder, just because it makes you go, wait, what? But you can say like, hey, unpopular opinion about affiliate marketing. Everyone's doing it wrong, right? Or like, these courses are BS and here's why. And again, it's your point of view, so make sure it's very clear that it's your opinion so that you protect yourself. But then, screen shares of your dashboard or your offer page or your content calendar, things like this work really well. Excuse me. The snapshots of your deposits, I would steer away from. That was really popular.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, you don't want to do that. It's more about explaining your processes, like if you're going to use those things, because again, you're going back to helping, right? Not just look at how much money I made.
Right. And then YouTube, one of our favorites, right? Longer deep dive content is where, again, we can really break down the topic and get into the nitty gritty, as well as share, our data and our experiences. And then email or blog, right? So we talked about blogging last week. It's very easy to take your blogs and turn them into emails or vice versa. But story first emails are really popular. Like the whole, hey, this happened today and this happened this weekend, it made me think of this, instead of, well, in today's digital world, this is what's happening, right? And there's a way to do it that is incorrect. Like, I know it's used a lot with recipes nowadays, where it's like the whole story before you get to the recipe, and that frustrates a lot of people. I am one of them. Just give me the recipe. I don't need to hear about your grandmother when you were 7.
Definitely put a jump to recipe on there. It's not that we don't care about your blog, and we might go back and read it after we read the recipe, but yeah.
Yeah. So again, like, be cognizant of your audience's time, and don't treat it like they're just there for you, right? Treat their time with respect as well.
Absolutely. So, the next thing that we want to talk about is an implementation roadmap. And so basically it's like a 7-day content sprint. Okay. So the first one is you want to pick up your differentiator, your point of view, your audience lens. Day 2, list 10 stories or experiences that you can reuse in your content. Day 3, take old posts and run the 5-minute generic detector and then rewrite one. Day 4, you want to record one raw video sharing a strong opinion and one story. Day 5, you want to turn that video into a carousel or an email and write a short script on it. And then, day 6, you want to ask your audience one specific question to pull the language directly from them. Day 7, you want to just sort of review what got the most saves, the most comments, or watch time and then double down on that, right? It's a pretty straightforward thing. I will put that little video just as a sheet in the comments so that you guys can grab a copy if you like.
Right. You know, one thing with the raw video format, I will say you might get a lot of trolls, right? Especially depending on what you're talking about. You might get the people who are like, well, your video quality sucks, so why would I listen to you? Or, you know, like, oh, you're talking about, you know, editing videos, but this is clearly shot with a bad camera, or like stuff like that, right? Because it's happened. And take it all in stride. Again, most trolls are either being paid to be trolls or are just having a really bad day.
A lot of them aren't even real.
Yeah.
Like they're literally, you know, just bots. So
yeah, but it still gives you engagement, which is nice. Yep. So, you know, take it all in stride. Again, your ideal audience is not going to be the ones commenting negative stuff. Your ideal audience might look at how you're responding to negativity, because I will do that. And that can say a lot. So, you know, we all have bad days where we lose our temper on trolls, but for the most part, try not to get emotionally charged, you know, try not to egg them on, because again, a lot of them aren't even real people. So just wanted to put that caveat on the raw video format.
Yeah, and I mean, and also with the strong opinion, right?
Yeah.
These are all excellent. Like, this is a great little 7-day sprint that you can run, just to try and, like, if you feel like you're drowning in your niche and it's like everybody else, do this little standout content sprint and work it. Day 1, day 2, like go right through that full week and then see how that adjusts your experience with your audience, how it changes your reach, all those kinds of things. And it can be applied to, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter if it's a text base or it's a video base, if you're on TikTok or YouTube, it really doesn't matter, because this will apply to anything, any kind of content that you're putting out there. It's going to matter. So, you know, you don't need to outpost everyone, you know, you just need to out-care and out-clarify everyone. You know, step away from the generic. Don't be afraid to go a little bit further than other people are doing. So your homework is basically, I would say, you know, this is a good idea, is to grab one of your old lifeless posts, you know, one of your old videos that, you know, was pretty generic, or one of your old blog posts, or one of your Facebook posts, or whatever, doesn't really matter, and give it the 5-minute generic detector, and then rewrite it. And by all means, go back, listen, you know, because we broke down what that 5-minute detector is, and then rewrite it using a story, a specific detail, a real opinion, and one clear next step. And then tag us so that we can see the before and after, because we would love to see that glow up, right? So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it, and that's all for today, folks. Other than that, I want to say thank you. And by all means, we love your comments, so drop them. That's it from us. If this episode helped you,
or at least entertained you,
go ahead and like, subscribe, and share.
We'll catch you next time.